Hey guys, I wanted to get on here real quick and take a video of the special angles within trigonometry. We've seen this before, showed you in a previous video how we can use our hands to memorize the trig ratios, their values at certain angle measures, and I just wanted to share with you another way of memorizing, knowing the trigonometric ratios at those values. So first of all, what those angle measures are. So there are special angles within trigonometry that we just happen to know exactly what the ratios, sine, cosine, tangent, we know exactly what the values are. So they're not decimal approximations, there's an exact fraction that we know. And we just memorize these fractions and makes calculations in this course and in future courses much simpler. So those angle measures are, starting with 0, then we have 30 degrees, we have 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and then 90 degrees. And this is in, from 0 to 90, we can go further on eventually. But in radians, we would still have 0 radians. We would have pi over 6 radians, pi over 4 radians, pi over 3, and then 90 degrees is pi over 2. So we not only need to know the angle measures that we consider to be special, but we need to know how to go back and forth. So if we have a pi over 6 angle measure, we need to know what that is in degrees and vice versa. So I shared with you, how we can use our hand by, 0 to 90, how we can close our finger and do certain things. I found there's actually a way to use a table to know the exact values of sine, cosine, and then tangent of this. So knowing these angle measures, how we can use a table to memorize their values. So I have this table, and on this table I'm going to put 0, use degrees, 0, 30, 45, 60, 90, and again above that we can put our radians. 0 radians, pi over 6, pi over 4, pi over 3, and pi over 2. Something interesting is my angle measures increased, my denominators decreased. Just something interesting to maybe help you learn the set. So this table, we're going to say what I want the sine of theta. So the thetas are our angle measures. So in this table, each entry is over 2. Okay? And the numerator, we're square rooting in every entry. Now, how this table can help us memorize or know the trig ratios at these special angle measures is putting our angle measures in order. Our radicals go in order, starting at 0, and it increases 1 every entry. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can notice. So if I want to know what sine of theta is, sine of, say, 30 degrees, it is square root of 1 over 2. And that's 1/2. If I want to know what sine of 90 degrees is, that's square root of 4 over 2, which is 2 over 2, which is just 1. So sine of 90 degrees is exactly 1. And let's just test this on our, just so you know how we can use our hand before. I wanted sine of 60 degrees. Okay, so I used my hand. 60 degrees would have been this, finger, so I could close this. And sine of 60, that was 3 fingers. So that would be square root of 3 over 2, because it's always square root of our fingers over 2, and well, this table does the same thing. So no matter what the side lengths are in a triangle, if I have an angle measure of 60 degrees, we know that the sine of that angle measure will always reduce to the square root of 3 over 2, always, regardless of the size of the triangle. So what about cosine? So cosine, same idea, every entry is over 2. And every entry, the numerator is a square root. So with cosine, rather than going from 0 to 4, I go in the opposite direction. So I go from 4 to 0. So cosine of 90 degrees is square root of 0 over 2, or just 0 over 2, or just 0. So cosine of 90 is always equal to 0. Whereas cosine of, say, 45 degrees, or cosine of pi over 4, it's square root of 2 over 2. So this table will help us memorize these values, but these are values, sine, cosine, and we can also just extend this and use tangent by dividing these sets. We can do this, and it's just one more way to help us. So if I want to use this to find tangent, what is intriguing is if I want to know tangent and if I know sine and cosine, we are simply taking the numerators and dividing them. So here I take the square root of 0 and divide it by the square root of 4. The square root of 1 divided by the square root of 3. The square root of 2 divided by the square root of 2. The square root of 3 and divided by the square root of 1. And the square root of 4 over the square root of 0. Okay? Now right there, you go, whoa, 0's in the denominator, that's not good, it's undefined. Well, yes. Tangent of 90 degrees, you will get undefined. Tangent of 0 degrees is 0. So this table, along with our hand, we can use now to know these values for these special angle measures. So I wish you the best of luck memorizing this, knowing this. This is one additional way to knowing your trig ratios for our special angle measures.